Under the blazing fire, people were dancing calmly in the square. Isn't it crazy? That's what's happening in Guizhou province in southwestern China. The fires that have been raging for days seem to have numbed the nerves of the locals. Or are they playing the role of good citizens, the role the government wants them to play? The province recently saw a massive outbreak of wildfires. Except for 2 cities in the northern part of the province, the rest of the province has almost been destroyed. The mountain fires have been burning for more than 10 days, but there has been little coverage in the media, leaving Chinese people chilled as they gradually learn of the fires. It is strange. Guizhou mountain fire is such a big story, but there is no buzz at all. Why? The buzz has been stolen by gossip like this. For example, a student's homework was lost in a restroom in Paris, or the divorce fads and such. What's the media doing? Such a big story is actually reported by bloggers of self-media. I didn't even hear about the fire that started on February 18th, 2024. I had no clues about it. Guizhou is all mountains, and now the fires are connected and burning. How terrifying. All the firefighters have been mobilized. Now fires occur in many places. There aren't enough firefighters. Why don't we know? How many people in the country don't know about such a big disaster? Now I hear that some firefighters have been killed. We ordinary people don't know what we can do to help, but at least we should be informed of what's going on in our own country. Some personal media in China are tracking the spread of the fires, but it can't be found on social media's top lists. As of February 23rd, the Guizhou fires haven't appeared on China's Baidu top search list. Baidu is the equivalent of Google in China. Video footage of the fire has been circulating, showing many residents' homes burned to the ground. Look at the white building in the mountainous forest, engulfed in fire and smoke. The man who shot the video sighed. This house is in trouble. It's finished. As can be seen from the video, the mountain fire is fierce, the fire line is long, and it's formed a fire ring around the mountain. A Guizhou villager's pig farm was destroyed. More than a dozen pigs were lost, and the man wailed. Several residents in a town told local media on the evening of February 20th that the wildfire had been burning for a day and a night and hadn't been extinguished. There had been casualties during the firefighting. They said they are relatively young, all in their 20s. The local hospital staff said 2 individuals got picked up from the fire scene and sent to the county hospital. Township officials declined to say anything about the fire. In another town, villagers said they stayed up all night to guard their houses and keep an eye on the fire after a power outage in the village. In the city's minority autonomous county, fires broke out all over the mountains, lighting up the dark sky. One wildfire broke out even earlier in a town. Its local official told the media that the fire started at about 3 p.m. on February 18th, with the fire line running about 1,000 meters. A local woman said she could see the fire burning from her home. It wasn't till the early morning on February 19th that the local government reported that because the wind was stronger, the fire spread quickly. It formed 2 lines from east to west and from north to south, but the fire was basically under control now. However, on the afternoon of February 19th, local residents said that although the fire was basically under control on the 18th due to the creation of an isolation zone by chopping down trees, it prevented the fire from spreading, but it started again at noon on the 19th due to a change in wind direction. The video shows that there are many bright fire lines on the mountains, and they are fierce. On February 21, 2024, the fire in Guizhou went viral in China's WeChat circle of friends. One individual from a northern city shared the news and commented, "Oh my gosh, save them. The fires in Guizhou have been burning for 4 days. Everyone driving on the highway in Guizhou can see the endless mountain fires. How come they are absent from the news in China?" In some parts of Guizhou province, fires have been put out, but villagers have lost their homes. Some villagers describe the fire as so fast that half the mountain burned down in a few minutes. Those burnt-out mountains look like this. By February 23rd, several netizens posted on overseas social media that the Guizhou fire had spread to the neighboring provinces of Guangxi, Yunnan, and Sichuan. 12 days after the forest fires started, there were no reports of any scale in China until February 22nd. To summarize, these reports were saying, the fires are under control. It was reported that Forest and Grassland Fire Prevention and Control in Guizhou Province, or the Fire Command Center, announced on February 22nd that from February 10th to 21st, a total of 221 forest fires in the province had all been put out, and 11 of them were investigated to be forest fires, resulting in 2 casualties. Damage was currently being tallied. As for the cause of the fire, the Ministry of Emergency Management said that the rainfall had been sporadic in most parts of Guizhou province recently, with the average temperature exceeding 20 degrees Celsius or 68 degrees Fahrenheit, soaring to 34.7 degrees Celsius or 94.46 degrees Fahrenheit from February 18th to 19th. This was coupled with strong winds such as those in the central and western parts of the province, which reached level 8 and even level 10 in some areas. Such conditions lasted for a long time and were dry. The relative humidity was less than 30%. The Chinese government also emphasized that the province's gas stations, substations, power transmission lines, oil and gas pipelines, high-speed rail, and other important infrastructure had no major disastrous incidents. Official media stated that a large number of forest fires in Guizhou occurred in mixed coniferous and broadleaf forests and karst wild forest areas. The forests are densely covered with thorns, rocks are scattered, and weeds are overgrown. Most forests have no roads, and some fire lines are on cliffs, making them difficult to extinguish. At the same time, the government also issued a notice. It said on February 21st, the Guiyang municipal government reported that at about 12 noon on February 20th, a mountain fire broke out in a village in Guiyang City. The reason is that a 57-year-old male villager burned weeds in his farmland and caused a wildfire. This person is currently being investigated. The report seems to imply that many of the fires are human-caused. Although the authorities claim to have done their best to put out the fires, Chinese netizens at home and abroad still question the credibility of the official story. One resident in Guiyang, the capital city of Guizhou province, told overseas Chinese language media, "The online pictures are all real, and the places that are burning up are all real. All of them are real. The current fire situation is covered by some civilian footage, recorded and broadcast by local villagers. They may have eventually attracted the attention of some media." Another person in Guizhou told overseas Chinese media that the fire situation was picked up on Douyin. The government here reports only the good news, not bad news, so this kind of news doesn't get reported for sure. He said, "This fire is fierce, but where I am, the southwest part of Guizhou province isn't as bad. Bijie, Xingyi, and other places have it worse." As for the losses caused by the fires, the citizen said, "There was no government compensation for sure, just a little bit of humanitarian assistance." In a Chinese netizen's WeChat circle of friends, one wrote, "Netizens asked me, why is there no official coverage of such a big fire?" I replied, "The official media only reports overseas fires." We checked the overseas propaganda of the CCP. During this period, China's state television reported very little about Guizhou. Of the little coverage, there is one spotlight, a giant telescope tucked away in the mountains of Guizhou. Here's how the state TV reported it. In Guizhou province, the spotlight is on the 500-meter aperture spherical radio telescope, FAST, which holds the title of the world's largest and most sensitive single-dish radio telescope. To date, FAST has identified 833 pulsars, a feat that triples the discoveries made by its global counterparts. This year, our goal is to increase our pulsar discoveries to 1,000. We're especially keen on observing unique and groundbreaking pulsars in physics, such as those in pulsar black hole binary systems, which have the potential to revolutionize our understanding of the universe. In 2016, Beijing authorities moved more than 9,000 people in 2 counties to southern Guizhou province to build the world's largest radio astronomy telescope. The 500-meter spherical telescope is seen by Beijing as a symbol of China's growing technological prowess. Communist Party officials say the FAST telescope is being placed in southern Guizhou, deep in the karst mountains of Guizhou province, an ideal place to detect possible extraterrestrial signals. It's doubtful that Chinese people are interested in the technological glory that Guizhou's telescope has bestowed on the country. As the fires in Guizhou spread on China's social media, some people asked, why don't they use artificial rainfall or airplanes to drop water bombs on such big fires? As they watched the struggle over the fires, Chinese netizens began to see a technological gap between their own province, Guizhou, and the West. On Douyin, people posted videos of helicopters being used to fetch water to put out the fires. However, compared with the so-called American imperialists, one can see a huge gap. In fact, the technology gap has something to do with the poverty of Guizhou province. It's the first province in China to be on the verge of bankruptcy. Because official statistics from all parts of China are basically inflated, the province is likely to have been effectively bankrupt. China has had a serious local debt problem for years, and Guizhou is one of the worst. Here is a clip from our previous episode in 2023. On April 12th, the Development Research Center of the Guizhou government in China revealed through social media platforms that Guizhou province has serious local debts. The debts are so much that it's unable to digest them on its own and is asking for help from the central government. This means that China will have its first bankrupt province. This information was spread on the Chinese internet for 3 days. The article has now been deleted, and its various reprints on China's major social media platforms have also disappeared, one after another. Guizhou province is located in southwestern China and has a resident population of about 40 million. In addition to Han Chinese, more than 60% of the population is made up of various ethnic minorities. The province is rich in tourism resources thanks to its many mountains and rivers. In recent years, it has begun to focus on developing tourism and promoting itself as a mountain park province. According to an April 12th release from the Development Research Center of the Guizhou provincial government, the center has recently examined the debt situation of several local governments, including the provincial capital city. It found that the local debt problem has become a major and extremely important problem to be solved, but due to limited financial resources, it is extremely difficult to move forward, and relying solely on its own ability has been unable to reach an effective solution. The research team said it would seek the support of the State Council to propose feasible solutions for resolving the matter. The local debt problem in Guizhou has drawn attention before. The 2020 debt ratio ranking of major cities in mainland China shows that Guiyang, the provincial capital, reached 929%. According to statistics from the Guizhou Provincial Department of Finance, the province's debt reached over 1,000 billion yuan, or about $180 billion by the end of 2022, excluding hidden debts of local governments. Most of the government's hidden debts consist of liabilities of urban construction investment companies. They are conservatively estimated to be around $150 billion. Urban construction investment companies are the investment and financing platforms of the governments of major cities across the country. The annual revenue of Guizhou was less than US 29.1 billion per year for the past 3 years, but the expenditure was more than US 80 billion, most of which came from issuing bonds and transfer payments from the central government. In 2020, the debt expenditure alone amounted to US 22.4 billion, of which the principal repayment was US 16.2 billion and the interest payment was US 6.2 billion. This province is racking up more debt and has become a landmine that is about to explode. Dushan County alone, for example, is US 5.8 billion in debt and with an annual revenue of US 150 million. It would take the local government 40 years to pay it back without any other spending and excluding interest payments. The CCP's central treasury is equally strained. In January this year, China's finance minister called out through the media that the next step will be to further reduce the expectation of government underwriting. A previous official letter issued by the Ministry of Finance also emphasized that for local debt risks, the principle of no assistance from the central government should be implemented, and whoever owns the child will take care of their own. Why are the finances in this province so bad that it has gone bankrupt? Systemic corruption is the main reason. For example, a former leader from this province was exposed by the Chinese media after his fall from grace for his willy-nilly governance and his involvement in large-scale projects that were meant for his image and political performance. Between 2013 and 2017, while serving as the party secretary of a local municipality in Guizhou province, he pushed for the construction of 23 tourism projects, 16 of which were listed as inefficient and idle by Guizhou province. Over 3 years when he was in charge of the city, the new local debt rose more than 150 billion yuan, or 20.8 billion US dollars. The debt growth rate from 2013 to 2017 exceeded 300%, leaving the local government with an extremely heavy burden. It cost a huge amount of money to launch so many tourism projects. If there was no money, he just went ahead and borrowed it. As a local official, he disregarded the actual financial carrying capacity of the city, established 6 new financing companies, and used the amount of funds raised as indicators for cadre's job review. Some of the projects were packaged as enterprise projects to raise money, some were handed down to districts and counties for implementation, and some of them even violated the law in order to complete their tasks. In a recent anti-corruption documentary aired by the CCP, this corrupt official stated why he dared to borrow so heavily. If I had to pay back the money I borrowed, I wouldn't have borrowed it, but with the government's endorsement, I went ahead and borrowed it. Anyway, the government changes every few years. New people will take over the positions. The successors will be responsible for the debt. Having known the poverty of Guizhou province and the corrupt style of the officials, it can be predicted that this super wildfire that almost burned out the province has brought losses that the government can't afford and can only be borne by the people. The hardship and suffering it brings to the people of Guizhou will be unimaginably heavy.
是得跟火山爆发一样的了。